Hi, my name is Matt Bowler, and in this video we'll be going over site-to-site IPSec VPNs using Cisco routers and the Cisco Security Device Manager, or the Cisco SDM as it's more commonly known. The SDM version that we'll be running is 2.5. I do have a lab video out there that shows how to set up the SDM and use it within your computer and a virtual environment with GNS3, so you can check that out on YouTube. It's a pretty basic, quick overview of how to use the SDM and set up a router for SDM use. Our diagram here is very similar to the command line interface VPN video that I have out there, where we have two networks where traffic will be defined as interesting traffic for the VPN connection. We have the 172.16.1.0/24 network on this side of the home network, and the 192.168.1.10 loopback adapter, which will be on the opposite side of this network on the office router. We have the interwebs router, which is acting as basically a transparent internet type router, just there to show that any sort of traffic that flows between these interfaces and these routers will not be defined as interesting traffic, but anything between the 172.16.1.0 network and the 192.168.1.10 network, any traffic flowing between those will be encapsulated and encrypted and sent through the IPSec VPN tunnel. The routing protocol that we'll be using is EIGRP, and that will be running on Autonomous System 10. You can see the networks that are being advertised right here, and that is currently configured on the interwebs and the office router. Now I'm going to go into the home router and finish up the configuration to verify we have connectivity before we attempt to launch the SDM and start that configuration. So let me bring up the prompt here for the home router. Go into configure terminal mode. I'm going to create an enable secret password of Cisco, which is consistent with the passwords that I'll use in all of my lab videos. The next thing I want to do is define a username of Matt, the privilege level of 15, and a secret password of Cisco. I'm going to enable AAA because that's how I'll be authenticating and authorizing commands through the terminal and also through the SDM. So we'll go through the basic configuration of a AAA authentication and authorization. To specify the login method with AAA model here, we'll do AAA authentication for login, and we'll use the default authentication list, and we'll point that towards the local authentication and username database. You can also do local case sensitive if you want to force when a user authenticates that they enter in a case sensitive username and password. So we'll go ahead and set that. The next thing that I want to do is when you configure an the IP HTTP server, you must specify how you want to authenticate the user for logging in and also for issuing commands. So I'm going to create two authorization methods here. One for commands with the privilege level of 15, and I'm going to use a different list here and call it HTTPS login, and we will use the local database. The next method we'll do is authorization for the exec mode, and we will specify the HTTPS login list as well, pointing towards the local database. I'm going to disable the IP HTTP server because it's not secure, and we will enable the IP HTTP secure server. This is going to generate a 1024-bit RSA key certificate here, and once I actually log in with the SDM or go to the the HTTPS login homepage on this router, it's going to ask me to download that certificate and verify that I'm going to allow that connection. What I want to do next is get into the terminal lines, VTY lines, and specify that the input method I'll be using is SSH, and I can accomplish this by using the transport input method of SSH, and I only want to use SSH, so I'll just end that command there. Moving right along, I'm going to specify those HTTP authentication methods that I had spoken about earlier. So we will use IP HTTP authentication using AAA, and for the login authentication, you can see we have login authentication, exec authorization, and command authorization. The difference here is with the authentication, this is basically me proving I am who I say I am, and that I have the credentials to initially access the device. The authorization, this specifies what I can actually do once I get into the device, what commands I can issue, and with the enable level of 15, I'll pretty much have full access here. So I'm going to use login authentication, and I will use the default authentication list. So for with IP HTTP AAA, the command authorization, if you can remember the command and exec authorization methods, I created the HTTPS login list, so we'll reference that list here. And with the command authorization, I will specify the enable level of 15 and then reference that list. If I hit the up arrow, I get the previous command, and now I'll just go back to AAA and then specify the exec authorization, and once again reference the HTTPS login list. So if I try and bring up the SDM here, I will first need to set up my interfaces with IP addresses. That would be helpful. So we'll go into fast Ethernet 0/0, which is the interface that is facing inward towards this internal cloud here. The IP address of 10.1.1.1 with the bit mask of 30. So we'll give it an IP address of 10.1.1.1, the subnet mask of 3 255s and 1 252. It's great for a point-to-point link where you're not wasting any space. We'll hard code the duplex to full and the speed to 100. I've done this on all of the links between these. And the link that is going to the laptop loopback is only going to be a 10 meg link. And I just have that to auto sense. So I'll do a no shutdown to bring that interface up. We'll see it come up here in just a moment. Now I want to configure the fast Ethernet 1/0 interface, which is pointing towards my laptop loopback. And that address, as we can see down here in red, is 116.1.1 with 24-bit subnet mask. And we'll do a no shutdown to bring that link up. So I should be able to ping to my laptop. Give it just a moment there. Alright. Now if I bring up a prompt here on the laptop and I attempt to ping to the opposite side of this router, what do you think the result's going to be here? We have success for that ping. Now if I try and ping to the interwebs router, I'm going to guess I have no route to that device, which it looks like I don't, because I have not yet enabled EIGRP on the Office router. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by entering router EIGRP with autonomous system number of 10, and then advertise these two networks, 172.16.1.0 with 0.0.0.255 wildcard mask, and I'm going to also advertise the 10.1.1.0 network, and with this statement we should see an adjacency formed. I'm also going to issue the no auto summary command.